Yeah, good Shabbos, everybody. We had a little technical difficulty, wasn't sure what was going on, and then all of a sudden we're live. Hey, I want to welcome you to Hungry Hearts today. We're having a blast. You missed some fantastic worship. Before I get into the message, I want to offer you Pursuit, our free quarterly newsletter. This is the Passover issue. Got some great articles in here, some super writers, and if you'll give me your email address at hungryheartsmin@aol.com, we'll send this out to you free every quarter. And we were talking about the Passover before we came on air. Passover's a week from tomorrow, so we're everybody's getting ready. We're all getting excited. And word from the Lord is we're going to have a phenomenal Passover, and I'm really geeked and excited to help bring it to everybody. So I was thinking about what to do today. Sorry for the coughing, guys. I've been under the weather for a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, you know, after all the years I've been doing this, what's the single most important thing? We talk about a lot of deep teaching and get into all kind of stuff at Passover. Lots of other people do too. But the bottom line, when you show up for service, what's the single most important thing when you come to service? He died for our sins. You know, all the rest of it's great. It's all good teaching. We're going to keep doing it. But the single most important thing when you show up at Passover is he died for my sins. I mean, that's, you know, it tends to get lost sometimes. You know, there's been a big move, I've been talking about it for a little bit now, to denigrate Yeshua Messiah. He's just a rabbi. Well, he's a rabbi, but he's not just a rabbi, he's the rabbi. He was a good man. Well, he was a good man, but he was God before he was that good man. He's God after he's that good man. He was God while he was that good man. And so people are trying to, you know, Peter said this would happen. Peter said that people would reject the sovereign Lord that brought them in the end times. And we're here, and people are trying to just make him a rabbi, just make him a good man. Well, he was only the son. No, he's God Almighty in the Old Testament, guys. You can look that up. Paul was very clear about that in 1 Corinthians 10. So Yeshua died for my sins. That's the most important thing you got to bring when you come. Now, we don't have towels, guys. So you're going to need to bring towels. We got basins, but no towels. We have to personalize this. You know, I've talked about our culpability in Yeshua's death for a while. But we have to personalize this. If no one else on earth was alive, he'd have done it just for us. You have to look at it that way. If everybody else has attained perfection in Christ and they don't sin anymore, he'd have come just for yours. Just for yours. So, first question, what did we do and why did we do it? So we've been talking about sinless. That's like the most obvious question, right? And you know, some people have to pray a lot. And you know what? We do have some-timers. We do tend to forget a lot of things, right? But we pretty much know what we did. And we pretty much knew when we did it because he was right there going, stop that. And we just get headstrong sometimes. So come on, everybody. We just get headstrong. No one's exempt. No one's exempt. No one's going to be able to say, hey, I was good. I did it. No, it says in the Bible, no one's good. No, not one. That's a quote from Psalms. And Paul quotes it in Romans chapter 2. No one was good. No one did it. Clear, simple rules. If you've ever read the Torah, you know that they're just clear, simple rules. They're really not that hard. So people say, oh, you know, God gave all that complicated law. They couldn't do it. You know, it's really not that hard. I mean, let's just get straight. I mean, we're at Passover. It's a week away. Let's just get real. It really isn't that hard to do it. The problem isn't the rules in the book. The problem is clear, simple rules. There's no cheating. Someone says, oh, man, they got away with so-and-so. Nobody gets away with anything. Yeshua saw it all. The Father saw it all. You either got Yeshua's blood to cover it or you're in deep trouble. I mean, even what we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're coming there real fast. The Torah is so easy. These rules are so simple. Even a caveman can do it. And here we are in 2024, and I got to explain that all over again, right? Remember the Geico commercial? It's so easy a caveman can do it, right? Well, people under 50, they never saw the commercial. So when you say stuff like that, they go, what? Yes, people barely out of living in caves could keep Torah. They could do it. I focus on God-fearing a lot. Because God-fearing is pretty basic stuff. Sabbath, holy days, dietary laws, and tithing. That's God-fearing. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So when you start keeping Sabbath, you start keeping the holy days, you start following dietary laws, you start tithing, that's the beginning of wisdom to come into your life. Until you're doing those 4 basic items, there's no wisdom coming into your life. It's easy. If you've ever read them, you'll have to admit it's easy stuff. But as Prophet Nice pointed out, Yeshua said that's not good enough. He said it's not good enough. It's not good enough to keep Torah. Matthew chapter 5. He gave us extra rules. People talk about man-made rules in church all the time. Yeshua already gave us some God-given extra rules. Considering he's the God of the Old Testament, I guess he gets to do it. I know we spend a lot of time in the first part of this chapter talking about think not I've come to destroy the law. Now he's going to tell you how much better than the law you got to be. And we pick on some of these verses a lot. We're going to pick on them again today. Matthew 5, verse 21. You've heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not murder. And anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I'm telling you, anyone who is angry with his brother without a cause is subject to judgment. You know, a lot of people are just angry all the time. They wake up angry. They accuse me of that, but really what it is I'm not on yet. Right? I may have gotten up, walked in the bathroom, but it's still black screen. We haven't gone to blue screen. There's no MS-DOS running. Now, Lenice, when she wakes up, Windows 11 is just on. She didn't need to type in a pin or nothing. I mean, it's just on. When she wakes up, boom, all her systems fully running, ready to go. Me, I need coffee. I need coffee. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Go to pot. Pour coffee. If it's cold, mic it right now. Because I can't boot my MS-DOS up without coffee. Well, it's an hour before we're going to be talking about any Windows, nothing, right, is coffee. So I don't wake up angry. I'm just not on. It takes me about an hour to boot my systems up where I'm cognizant. So he's telling us that you can't be angry without a cause. That means you can't hold a grudge. You can't bear a grievance. You can't take revenge. Even though it might be justified under Torah, you got to back off. Why? Because he said so. He said holding on to that stuff is equivalent to murder. Now, you didn't kill anybody. If you've tried to do it with their words. As Paul said, reconcile where possible. You know, it's not possible to reconcile with some people. You know, this has been a long occurring theme in Hungry Hearts. It goes way back. You remember Bev talking about, you know what you did it, you know what you did. So this person got all over Beverly Holiday. Bev didn't have a clue what went on. They were trying to fix the pew before it fell down, and yet this person held a grudge and left church. It's happened to me a lot of times. You know what you did. What did I do? It'd help if you tell me. So it's not always possible to reconcile with people. I mean, if they're going to hold a grudge and they're not going to tell you what's going on, I mean, the first step is if you've got a problem, you're supposed to go to somebody and say, hey, this didn't work right with me. And I'm going to tell you right now, after doing this for 38 years, 99% of the time, you didn't perceive it right. It's a very small percentage of the time where it actually was somebody trying to stir something up. Then we got to let it go. Paul said, as far as it relies on you, be at peace with all men. But if that's not possible, you just got to let it go, walk away. This is why I get into talking about the sins of commission, the sins of our thinking, and then the interpersonal conflicts that generate those bad thoughts. The easiest to stop are the sins of commission. It's pretty easy to stop taking the 5-finger discount, even though some people justify it in other ways. The bottom line is, did you buy it? It don't belong to you. I mean, it's real clear, right? Did you buy it? Well, this was a gift. I mean, but did you buy it? Then then it don't belong to you, right? Those are the easy ones. Those are the easy ones. Now, in Jackson, it's just a little tougher sometimes to stop the hand signals because a lot of people do bad stuff, and sometimes you do it before you even knew you did it. But generally, the sins of commission are a little easier to stop. Miss Niece is looking at me real funny. She's acting up. She can't behave. Now, we write our software, our thinking processes while we're little kids growing up. You know what? They need fixing. I don't know about you, but my Microsoft's got to update once a week. And it gets real ornery about updating once a week. And a couple of times we've had technical difficulties here because the computer will update in the middle of the broadcast. It decides, I don't care what you're doing, I'm updating whether you like it or you don't. I mean, my Microsoft gets real uppity about it. But you see, we got to update our thinking. We got to update our thinking. Somebody had a meme this week about brainwashing, and I said I wash mine in here every day. Your brain needs washing. You drive in Jackson? I know your brain needs washing. You got to wash it with this every day. And maybe if you drive in some other place, it's not so bad. I live here, I can say that. Rewriting our software as a grown adult is sometimes difficult, but you know, we can do it. You know, I know it's easier for kids. We're going to get into kids in a minute, but we can still do it. And as we make those software patches, we're going to find out that something else is wrong. It's those deep inner conflicts. You know, and people want to build a fortress around those. I still haven't figured that out yet, right? So something happens to you that shouldn't have as a kid, and you got a conflict now, and you want to build a fortress around it. I'm just telling you, I don't think many people that are grown, mature adults have taken the time to look inside themselves and go, what's really me and what's not? They used to talk about going to find yourself in your 20s. At some point, we've got to take an inventory of who we truly are up inside here, what's really me, and what doesn't really belong here. And you're going to find that you're going to need a dumpster because you got a lot of stuff to take out to the trash. It isn't you. Somebody just dumped this in the yard, and you got to clean it up. Yes, well, it needs to talk about Sesame Street, which one of these things doesn't belong with the other. So the conflicts that other people put in your life, they don't belong to you. That's not who you are. Who are you? You're a child of God. You've been sanctified. You've been saved. You've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. You've been filled with the Holy Ghost. Those conflicts and that bad thinking doesn't belong to you. It's trash. You just got to go out. Really, you think about it. You know, I hear people talk sometimes, well, I'm this and I'm that. How do you know? How do you know you're this or you're that? If you really stop to analyze whether you really are all those things we claim to be, are you really this or that? You know, a favorite one was my kids growing up was food. I don't like that. Don't say that around niece. Oh man, wrong thing to say. If you told mom and niece that you didn't like something, you're gonna eat it now. You're gonna eat it now. Oh, you might have to eat a lot of it, but you're gonna eat some of it. Because look, she's not wrong in this. She said, all foods contain different things, and just because you don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't have something in there you need. So you're going to learn to eat a little bit of it. See, but we'll build a federal case. People's grown adults will say the same thing. I don't like that. How do you know? But my favorite one to pick on is broccoli. No one likes broccoli. Okay, I got a secret news for everybody. I can't stand boiled broccoli either. You can throw that stuff away. It's useless. It's useless. Once you boil it, it's humus. You can just put it in the compost pile. It's done. But if you'll make it properly, because you know when you boil it, you can't even salt it. The salt bounces off of it. You can't even salt it if you boil it. The salt runs away. The pepper runs away. Nobody wants nothing to do with the broccoli after you boil it. I don't care if you soak it in cheese after that. It won't soak up the cheese. You hear what I'm saying? The cheese rolls off. But there are ways to cook broccoli that do not involve a pot of hot water. And it tastes really good. And the salt doesn't run away, and the pepper doesn't run away. And if you really got to have cheese, it sticks. And then you're like, hey, this is pretty good. I can eat it like that. How many of you had broccoli and cornbread? That seems to be something people like right here in the South. Broccoli and cornbread works out pretty good. It's all in how you cook it. It's amazing to me how many people build these little things up as a child and they keep them into adulthood. Paul said, when I was a child, I thought like a child, but now that I'm a grown man, I think like a grown man. The problem is we carry all that childhood junk into our grown life and we pretend that's us. Don't claim, you're not even naming it, claim it, you're actually possessing an ownership of all the junk the devil built in your life. Don't cling on to that. Kick that out. That's what the dumpster's for. Matthew 15. Sorry for the coughing, guys. This is not nearly as bad as it was yesterday. Matthew 15, verse 16. Are you still dull? You see, he didn't cut me slack, right? Are you still so dull? Don't you see that whatever enters the mouth goes in the stomach and out of the body? But the things that come from the mouth come from the heart. These are what make a man unclean. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, immorality, theft, false testimony, slander. These are what make a man unclean. But eating with unwashed hands does not make a man unclean. So far from talking about the dietary laws, Yeshua is talking about our inner conflicts that breed the bad thinking. We have the inner conflicts, and this is where all of this bad stuff comes from. We've got to clean that out. Let's go to Matthew 5 and verse 27. So people ask me all the time, how come God lets bad things happen? Well, when bad things happen, he's mashing on you, and you see what comes out of you when it happens. He's mashing on you, and you see what comes out. Matthew 5, verse 27. You heard it was said, do not commit adultery. I love to pick on this one because a lot of people, back in the Clinton days, one of the famous Baptist pastors said this was America's favorite sin. That's why I pick on this one all the time. You've heard it was said, do not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in her heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. Does Yeshua really want you to gouge out your eyes? It'd be kind of hard to do the gospel work if everybody was blind. What he's trying to use hyperbole to tell us is that it is very important to get the sins of the thinking out of your mind. It is very important to get down and address those interpersonal conflicts. Like I said, it's easy to stop these sins. That's not good enough. We got to start rewriting our software. We've got to resolve our inner conflicts. And it's gouge your eyes out serious. And it's chop your hand off serious to do the deep introspection and find out why you have the problem. Now look, people say, I don't have any problem, Pastor. I actually had one person stand up and say that they could have wrote held a blank piece of paper up and said, this was my sin list until a week ago. That's a person that didn't do very much work. They didn't look very hard. I mean, we all know. If you got the Holy Spirit, it's telling you the whole time. We all know. It's not like we don't know. We can pretend we don't, but that doesn't work. Yeshua wants us to prepare our thinking. Now, down in verse 31, he's going to do this again. It has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. That's in Torah. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for marital unfaithfulness, now there's a couple varieties of that. It's not just adultery, causes her to become an adulteress. And anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. So this is why he prohibits certain people from marrying divorcees. Because he doesn't want you to inadvertently get into a situation. Because look, I'm almost going to tell you, it's hard enough to adjudicate a marital dispute when it happens in front of you at Hungry Hearts. It's impossible to adjudicate a marital dispute that took place years ago and you don't know anybody except one person. You follow me? I don't want to go back and try to adjudicate all that. As I told Kelly Mack one time, I don't have subpoena power, right? When you go to court and you go to probate court and you're prosecuting a divorce, the judge can compel you to provide testimony. I can't. Nor do I even want to do it. I said, just let them go to court because it's too much for the church to have to get involved in. So marriage isn't always fun. Marriage isn't always happy. If you got any questions, ask Niece. Yeshua didn't tell you to stay in your marriage only if you're happy. He told you to work it out when you're not happy. Yeshua's telling us to stay in our marriages because we gave our word to God. We all took the vow, though I did see one marriage where there was no vows. It's kind of different. But every one of us said, for better or worse, sickness and in health, For richer or poorer, as my dear old mom said, I didn't know it was always going to be worse. I didn't know it was always going to be for poor. Till death do you part. Now we're making a big exception here for abuse. Don't believe in abuse. There's a lot of people tell you got to work abuse out. You can't work abuse out. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. We got to stay because we gave our word. We told God Almighty that we're going to stay in this no matter what. We're going to make it work no matter what. Till death do us part. We're in all the way, no backing out. And so if we're not willing to keep our word with someone with whom we're close, then how are we going to keep our word with Him, the invisible God, who you cannot see? That's his point. Now, Matthew 19, he's going to take this up again. And look, I'm just using one item. I'm not trying to judge anybody for their marriages or anything. What I'm trying to do is show you the sins of the thinking. We live in a world now where everybody says, divorce if you're unhappy. Oh, that's all? Unhappy? That doesn't mean anything. I'm unhappy. All righty then. So Matthew 19, take it up in verse 8. Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard. But it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for marital unfaithfulness, and marries another woman, commits adultery. And the last 3 marriages I counseled, I had to tell them to divorce. Why? Because their hearts were so hard, there wasn't any way to come together. You know, when you get to a place in the marriage where all it's about is, I want you to ream out the other person, Pastor. Okay, Dr. Phil doesn't even do that, right? Okay, let's just get square. Dr. Phil doesn't even do that, and I'm a Bible teacher. So when you come counsel me, don't, except for money, don't expect me to sit up there and tell you the psychobabble you want to hear. Expect me to tell you Bible. Bible. Now, I've known a lot of women have been abused. I've known a few men that have been abused, but I've known a lot more women that have been abused. Abuse is never okay. Get out. But when I have to tell somebody you need to get out because your hearts were hard, how can this be among believers? How can your heart be hard like that? Did we forget that we were saved by Yeshua? Did we forget that His blood paid for our sins? Because when you come to that place in a marriage where your heart's so hard that all you want is the other person blasted by the pastor, you're saying to God that I'm not going to keep my word, and I'm not going to keep my word to the point that this is over. And then, of course, you know, when you divorce, I'm going to counsel you once, but after that, you go ahead and remarry. That's straight up adultery. They know where to run a cut because you didn't divorce over marital unfaithfulness. You divorced over hardness of heart. So He didn't give you an out on that one. Why are our hearts hard? Did we forget that Yeshua died for you, me, us? How then can our hearts be hard when we're saved by Yeshua? You know, I did a message once entitled, My Brother Offends Me. And the opening line is, after I say the title is, oh, he only offended you? You just got to get over that. Your brother, that's all he did was offend you? He didn't slander you over 3 counties? He just offended you. Oh, well, you just get over it. And it's kind of a funny, but it's true. Paul said, don't be easily offended. And yet there's some people that live on offense. They live on offense. They think their whole righteousness comes from being offended. I'm offended, therefore I'm righteous. No, the people who don't get offended are righteous. The people who stay offended for trivial causes are definitely not righteous. Offense is never a good thing. Figure it out, work it out, or just forget about it. You know, I wrote in the book we wrote on love that taking the undeserved loss. I had a whole chapter on that. No one seemed to have read that chapter. There were plenty on the other chapters, but you know, there's a point where you just take the undeserved loss because it's a sign of love. First for Yeshua, for yourself, and for everybody else. You just take the undeserved loss. That discombobulates a lot of people. Matthew 18, just back a little bit. Over and over again, some people are so thin-skinned that everything seems to offend them. Verse 1, at that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Okay, All right. Wanting to be great in the kingdom of heaven is not a bad thing, by the way. They're asking for something that's good, and he's giving them a good lesson. He called a little child and had him stand among them, and he said, I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like the little children don't get offended easy, do they? And they get over it real quick and go back to playing. Playing's far more fun than offended. You will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. But if anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, I think the King James says causes them to offends one of them, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. So rather, those who can receive the righteousness of Christ are the ones who don't get offended. Like little children, we just don't get offended. There's always something to offend you. You know, like I said, 99% of the time, it's not even intentional. It's just they misspoke or you misperceived. 99% of the time. And that 1%, usually it's not that big a deal, but occasionally it is. But you know what? Take the undeserved loss if you have to. Take the undeserved loss. It paid off for King David, didn't it? When Shimei was throwing curses and rocks and sticks and dirt, and Joab said, let me take off that dead dog's head. And he goes, no, let the Lord look on me and have mercy. The Lord had mercy on him, didn't he? It's better to take the undeserved loss because Yeshua's going to make you stand. And if you got to go out there and champion your own cause over one of these offenses, he's not going to stand with you. You're on your own. Matthew 16, verse 24. My grandfather wrote all of the grandkids many years ago this passage from Luke. And everybody said, oh, Grandpa's flipped it. We hung it on the wall for years. And that's back before I got saved. Verse 24. Jesus said to the disciples, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. People don't want to do the denying self. Oh, yeah, I got my cross. I'm following Jesus. But when it comes to denying yourself, I ain't denying myself nothing. He said, deny yourself. That means you take an undeserved loss. That means somebody did something to you, and you just let it roll off your back. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and he's going to reward each person according to what he has done. I've told you the truth. I tell you the truth, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Is it all about big churches? Is it all about large internet followings? Is it about praise from people? The more distinguished and prestigious, the better, right? No, it's not about that. It's about giving your life for the kingdom of God. It's about your time, calories, attention, thinking, and effort into going into others, helping them see the Word. Now, I got a call from Cookville before I got sick. and the person said, this is just like the plain truth. Obviously, it was an older one. And I said, did you go to Worldwide? She goes, no. We used to live in Chicago, and they were everywhere. Well, I know about Chicago. I know about the Chicago church. How do I know? Because everybody retires to Florida. Orlando church was 600-something people. Everybody retires to Orlando. Everybody going to church in Orlando. So guess what? The deacon over me was in the Chicago church. I knew all about the Chicago church. Them guys wasn't playing up there. They're getting the plain truths out back in the day. Man, we used to have the remember the newspaper things where you go buy newspaper machines, the newsstands. Oh man, we're wall to wall and treetop tall back in Daytona and Orlando. We're getting them out, baby. I wasn't even in church yet. We getting them out. So I come into church, we getting 5 to 12 people a Sabbath, new people coming in. Oh, everybody's excited when there are new people coming in. There were so many new people coming in, you didn't see them dropping out. The dropout rate's the same. Just so many coming in, you didn't see it. Matter of fact, the minister used to grab me a lot. Richard Bickle grabbed me. Bill, take these people around and introduce them to everybody. First day, they just got here. And he used to tell you when you came in, I love new people. You got that first love. I just love it. I love hanging around you with that first love for God's truth. Oh, he used to love that so much. But you see, it wasn't spontaneous. They've been putting magazines out for 40 years to get that. They had 3 different runs by the time I see the World Tomorrow broadcast with Mr. Armstrong. That was the 3rd time. They got on and couldn't afford it, had to back off. They got on, couldn't afford it, had to back off. This was the 3rd time they got on. Later, after the great falling away, they said, yes, all those TV people. Then I would go, well, I was a TV person. You're fall out too. Well, I didn't. But see, we put some magazines out, and we're expecting all these people to come in. Had somebody come to Hungry Hearts. Oh, I'm gonna buy some airtime. We're going to have all these people. I'm not going to have to keep doing it because their tithes are going to pay for the show. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way, boss. Oh, it works that way. No, it doesn't work that way. Look, years ago in the Church of God Jackson, we ran the Ron Dart radio program. And we thought, man, we're going to burn this up, man. We're going to do it. And we're going to put a tagline on the back, provided, sponsored by the Jackson Church of God, 401 West Grand, telephone number, service time, blah, 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 blah. And the man told me on the phone while I'm setting this up, do not expect to get a single visitor from this radio broadcast. I'm like, oh, no, we're going to get some visitors. He goes, you're not going to get any visitors. And we didn't. It's about preaching the gospel. It's not about whether you get visitors. And so if you want to spread the truth that has filled your life and made you a better person and gotten you closer to Jesus, then you got to be willing to put the gospel out for nothing. For nothing. Magazines. Doesn't matter if anybody ever comes in the door. You're preaching the gospel. Someone told me one time that wasn't preaching the gospel. Some people got mad. Oh, we're putting all these magazines out. It's a lot of money. We're just wasting money. To see the results, it takes decades of preaching the gospel before someone finally decides, hey, I think I need to go down to church. Look, when I called at Passover in 86, I didn't know that there was a church. I didn't know there was a church service. I didn't know what to do on holy days. All I knew is it just didn't seem right to me I was going to kill a lamb. But if I had to kill a lamb, that's what I was going to do. So I called a toll-free number and I said, what do I do for the holy days? And the lady said, come to church. You got to picture that in mind of the State Farm commercial. I'm Jake from State Farm. Right. Come to church. Church. I didn't know there's churches. It's on the back cover. Well, I don't read the back cover. Who reads the back of the book? There's credits in the back. I don't read all that. So we started going to church 38 years ago. 38 years ago. This is going to be our 38th Passover. 38 years of doing this. Most important thing, Yeshua died for your sins. It'll never be any different. Knowing cool stuff is great. Learning cool stuff is great. Talking about cool things. But the bottom line is when you show up a week from Sunday, it's all about Jesus died for your sins. And it's all about understanding that when you look around that room, he died for all of theirs too. Now, this came up in a conversation this week about problems at church. And there was a year when I was having a real bad problem with this one gentleman. And I knew when I went to Passover, I was going to have to wash his feet. I told Lenise I'm going to have to wash so-and-so's feet. She goes, no, you're not. I said, oh, I can feel it. I'm going to have to wash his feet. She goes, no. Look, big church, 200 people in there, 100 of them are men. Because we had a lot of men back in church in the day. And what were the odds? Oh, I knew. I already knew going in. How do they say it? I already know it. Sure enough, guess who was open when I walked up with my little bin of water? And I washed his feet, just like he was Jesus. And I accepted the foot washing, just like he was Jesus. I don't know what he did because we never heard, but hey, he died for my sins, right? He died for my sins. The rest is irrelevant, isn't it? Does it even matter? He died for my sins. He died for that man's sins. So it ain't up to me. We know what Peter said with John. Well, what about him? It ain't up to you. It ain't none of your business what happens to John. You just do what you got to do. Amen? Just do what you got to do. It means your time, calories, attention, thinking, effort got to go into other people. It's their decision to take the truth or leave the truth. Many people despised Yeshua when he was alive. We read those verses from Isaiah 53. They despised him. You know, a lot of people still despise him. Matthew 25. A lot of people still despise Jesus. Sometimes even the ones that say they love him. Excuse me. Matthew 25, verse 31. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he'll sit on his throne in heavenly glory. And all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he's going to put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. And the king's going to say to those on his right, "Come, you are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world." You notice it's at the end, not at when he first comes back to rule, because we're talking Gehenna fire here. And that doesn't happen until after the great white throne judgment. I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, you invited me in. I needed clothes, you clothed me. I was sick, you looked after me. I was in prison, you came to see me. Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, we didn't see none of this." And he said, "When you did it for the least of these my brethren, you did it for me." Then he's going to say to the goats, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for..." That's Gehenna. You're cursed. You're going into Gehenna fire. Game over. Well, Lord, why? Because you didn't feed me when I was hungry. You didn't give me drink when I was thirsty. You didn't clothe me when I was naked. You didn't do all these things. And they go, "We didn't see you do any of this time." He said, "You didn't do it for the least of these, my brother. Therefore, out you go." Off with you now, as it says in the one commercial. What's up with the goats? What's up with the goats? My time in church, I've seen a lot of people come and go. In 38 years, I've seen a lot of people come and go. I was there for the great falling away. They can tell you it's going to come. Well, you think there's going to be a great falling away in Sunday church? They weren't even in the stuff to begin with, how they going to fall away from it. Oh, but they got these big buildings and all the people there. Eating unclean, breaking Sabbaths, not keeping the holy days. Look, I just wrote a blog this week that they're not pagans. Sunday people aren't pagans, okay? I know there's been a big deal out on the Facebook for about a year and a half. Oh, pagan, pagan, pagan. They were all this Easter stuff, and they were showing all these, weird statues of all these pagan gods and trying to equate all that stuff with the Sunday churches keeping Easter. Easter's not right. Remember, I tasked a guy one time to say, write an article saying that Christmas was not okay, and I don't want you to use pagan stuff. I want you to use the Bible. He couldn't do it. Pagan, pagan, pagan. I said, "We're not printing it." I said, what I wanted, I told you, once you go through the Bible, I want you to write me a good article from the Bible why it's not okay to keep Christmas, so that we have proof. So I want you to cite this book. But real paganism's coming back. I mean, it's coming back big time. This was Seventh-day Adventist piece I got off the internet from one of their magazines, and it was talking about in 2019 they had 80,000 people keeping this pagan festival out in the desert. 80,000. That's a lot of folks who were taking off a week from work. "Oh, I can't take off all 8 days of tabernacles, Pastor. That's too hard." Well, they can take off 8 days to go out in the woods and celebrate the devil for 8 days. I don't know why you can't do it for God. I'm just saying. Seen a lot of users come and take advantage of people, and that makes it hard to see where real needs lay. Where's the real need when you got somebody in here that's passing themselves on poor when they're one of the richest people in the church, just taking? See, goats want to take from the church, from the brethren. The sheep want to take care of people. Sheep want to take care of people. Sheep got your best interest at heart. Goats want to look good in front of other people. Sheep don't care if they look good. Think about that for a minute, because it goes on a lot. Goats do things to be seen of men. They want the regard of people. The more prestigious, the better. Yeshua is real. He's real with us, and he wants real people who do things for real, not who do things for show, not people who do things to get something. Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10. And this is with Mucinex. Should have heard me last week. Luke 10, verse 41. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you're worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary's chosen the better, and it's not going to be taken away. Yeshua wants people who are real with him. It's not about the furnishings or the dinner or the napkins or the table covers. It's about the service that we're going to render to Yeshua, the worship we're going to offer, the hearts we're going to lay on that table. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's nice when we have nice things. It's nice when the hall is decorated, but I remember when we had great moves of God and we didn't have any decorations. We didn't have nice things, and we were always on a shoestring. It's about your heart, man. It's about being real with Jesus. We sinned, he died. It's that simple, isn't it? We sinned, he died. Matthew 20, verse 28. One little verse. It's a crowd stopper, though. See, the disciples thought he was going to come and set up a physical kingdom and sit on a throne and rule, and that they were going to have positions of authority and power and prestige and nice robes. Yeshua doesn't care about none of that stuff. I would not doubt. I mean, I'm sure he wears that stuff in heaven because it's the protocol. But when I see him, he's not dressed super nice. He's just dressed in simple clothes. He likes to come hang out with us. Amen. Matthew 20, verse 28. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom. So, I know people that are always telling God what they're going to do. Well, I'll do this for you, Lord, but I'm not going to do that. You were ransomed. So what are you going to do? Tell the person that's trying to ransom you from the criminals, oh, well, I don't know if you're going to ransom me or not. That ain't what I want. You're going to have to do something for me. I'm getting you out of jail. I don't really care. You're going to do something for me because I ain't coming out. I mean, think about how stupid that is. He's ransoming you from death in the lake of fire, and we're going to argue and tell him what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. Now, we all got preferences. Preferences are okay. I'd prefer not to have to do that. But guess what? Those usually the thing he tells you he wants you to do. Oh, I'm not going to clean the bathrooms. Really? You going to tell Yeshua that after he bought you out of the lake of fire? Really? Maybe some people don't see themselves as they were going in the lake of fire before Jesus paid their ransom. See, when you really understand you were going to burn in the lake of fire, then it doesn't matter what Yeshua asks you to do. Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. I like the way Coleman put it. Aye, Captain. You know what aye means? I understand and I will comply. Aye, Captain. Yeah. You want me to clean the toilets? We clean the toilets. It's okay. It's okay. Whatever he wants done, we're going to do it. Why? Because he bought us. We're not going to bargain with him. Will he forgive you? He will. Now that he's forgiven us, you, me, us, he expects us to behave. And he doesn't really give us an option about it. He bought us out of the pit, therefore you're going to behave. People argue and have argued with me for years about why they'll obey. Well, if you're just obeying to save your skin, it doesn't count. Ain't a chapter and verse for that, by the way. It doesn't really give you a reason why you have to obey. It just tells you to make sure that you do obey. One says you got to do it this way. One says you got to do it that way. I'm just telling you, he says to do it, you just do it. Don't worry about why. Why ain't in the equation anymore, right? He bought you with a price. Why? It doesn't matter. It's just what. What did he say? Get moving. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He said, do it, I'm on it. Why do I obey? I have a lot of reasons why I obey. He paid for me and said to do it. That's like the first most obvious one, right? I love Yeshua. I mean, I deeply, deeply love Yeshua. Not just because he forgave me of my sins. I really do just deeply love him. He takes up time with me. He hangs out, as we like to say. He advises me. He encourages me. He protects me. I love him for all of these reasons and many more. Some public, some private. I obey. One reason I obey is because it hurts him emotionally when I sin. Luke 22. I do something stupid. It causes him pain. I don't want to cause Yeshua pain. Why would I want to cause Yeshua? Haven't I already caused enough pain? Luke 22, verse 60. Yeshua told Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. So here we are at the trial, and Peter's in the midst of denying him that 3rd time. He said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Now, you know the Lord was hurt, even though he knew he was going to do it. You knew it hurt him anyway. Just imagine how Peter felt. Told you're going to do it. Oh, I ain't doing that, man. I'll never deny you. And then does it anyway, and then he's got to look at Jesus in his eyes. Oh, you know that hurt. And he went outside and wept bitterly. See, when we do something against the Lord, does he have to look at us for us to feel his pain? Does he have to give you the vision of looking in those eyes before you go, oh man, what have I done? Do we really need the weep bitterly experience? We don't want that. Doesn't it come to us directly with the Holy Spirit? When we do something that makes the Lord really upset, don't we feel it immediately? Shouldn't we be more attuned to Yeshua through his Spirit? John 14. Excuse me again. My Mucinex should be good till after 5. John 14. Verse 16. I'm going to ask the Father, and he's going to give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. I will not leave you orphans. I will come to you. So we have a piece of Yeshua within our spirit. It makes us one with him. It should also break our heart every time we hurt him. Each Passover should bring us closer to him. It's 38 now, right? Every Passover should bring us closer to him. Every Passover we should realize his love for us and acknowledge to him that we understand his love to us and return his love for us back to him in total adoration. This is why the after the service worship is the most important part of the Passover, and why I get angry at people who stop it from happening, wait until other people leave, put up the food and make a commotion. I mean, there's the time back in the Comfort Inn that they carried on with the food and kept telling me to delay. I finally walked over to the sound person, fired up, full jams, wide open, total volume, wide open, max, until they finally stopped the food and everybody began to worship. The after the service worship is the most important part, because that's at what point we should have felt his love for us, acknowledged it back to him in the service, and now it's time to pour our adoration. This is the time to get on your face and cry your eyes out like you're washing his feet with your tears. Can't do it if we don't run it. Can't do it if we push it off till 1 o'clock in the morning. Everybody has to go home. I mean, it's not okay. As soon as the meal's over, we're not going to put the food away for an hour anyway. Cover it and let's worship. You know, you give people 20 minutes to go potty. That's it. We're back in here and let's worship. It's very important. Matthew 28 and verse 17. You know, we haven't gone to the Old Testament one time, right? We've been in just the 4 Gospels the whole time. Yeah. Matthew 28 verse 17. This is at the end of the chapter and the end of Matthew's book, and it says, when they saw him, they worshiped him. Worship is the highest form of love. It is reserved on our part for only Father and Son in the Godhead. Only the Elohim, Avi and Yeshua, Doesn't belong to anybody else. Worship only belongs to them. You know, Yeshua is God, along with his Father. John 1 says the Word was God and the Word was with God. The same was with God from the beginning. It's okay to worship Yeshua. Luke 7. Like I said, we denigrate him. And I'll tell you something that's just as bad. When we put Yeshua down, we're pulling the Father down along with him. Right? When you put Yeshua back to his rightful place, you have magnified the Father back to his rightful place. You know, it's a zero-sum game here. Luke 7, verse 40. Jesus at a dinner party. A woman of ill repute comes in and begins to wash his feet with her tears. Jesus said, they're all upset. If he's a prophet, he should know. How many times you've been told you're a prophet, you should know, right? The Lord doesn't tell you everything, and you know you're really happy about it because some things you just don't want to know. Jesus said, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. 2 men owed money to a certain money lender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. But neither had the money to pay him back. So he canceled the debts of both. Now which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt canceled. He said, you've judged correctly. Then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came in your house. You didn't give me water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You didn't give me a kiss, but this woman hasn't stopped kissing my feet from the time I entered. You didn't put oil on my head, but she's poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, for she loved much. But he who has been forgiven little loves little. Are our sins so little in our eyes that we don't love him much? Do we have to watch the Passion of the Christ every year to get an idea what our little sins cost him? It wasn't cheap, by the way. Do we not love much because we still think we're great? You know, we did a new disc in Corinth, and it played well, so I'll duplicate it. And it's got the song Devotion in there. And early in the song Devotion, it's got the line, the wrecks I've made here. Do we understand the wrecks we've made here? See, a lot of people don't see that they've made any wrecks. A lot of people don't think they have any sins. A lot of people don't think their sins are any big deal. But I'm going to tell you, 38 years. I'm not taking the 5-finger discount. I'm not telling stories. I mean, I'm a good storyteller, but I didn't make them up. I'm not cheating on my tithes. I'm not looking to break the dietary laws, but I'm not going to pitch a fit in a restaurant when something gets to my plate, because that's wrong. It's wrong to be the self-aggrandizement of I'm going to pitch a fit in a restaurant. That's just wrong. Take it out of your mouth, put it in a napkin, leave it alone. Don't send it back and make them pay for the meal because you didn't read the menu. Pick out, eat what you can out of it. Be happy and go along. Take the undeserved loss. Why make God look bad? See, we want to make us look good. We don't care if God looks bad. We want to make God look good. You know, every year my sins matter more to me, even though there are fewer of them and they're farther in between. They matter more to me because, you know, it still cost his life. He still had to take that beating. No matter what I think about how little my sins are in a worldly, humanly point of view, it still would have taken everything he had to go through to pay for those little sins. And at that point, I feel so much worse about it because they're so small and trifling. Why am I even with them? Well, why are they with me? Why? It doesn't even make sense anymore, right? Because you see, over 38 years, I'm more tender-hearted toward Yeshua. At first, it's like, oh, yes, I was a horrible sinner, and I was. And he paid for me. And you just kind of understand that's the game. I was a jerk. He had to pay the freight. And you're cut to the heart, and you cry, but it doesn't carry the same emotional weight as it does after you've been doing this for a period of time, and you're a better person, but you still got those little trifling, silly, stupid things you do. And it still takes all of that. So rather than feeling better about ourselves, that, oh, I have overcome so much, and there's a reward for overcoming. I'm not trying to diminish that. We should realize that it still costs that great big old monster price to pay for these. And I really don't want to put that on him. Not that he doesn't want to do it, but that I need to do better. It gets harder to watch the Passion because my little trifling sins still cause him so much hurt and pain. So as we go through all this, we should improve our behavior with each other. Because what we do to each other, we're doing to him. Didn't we just read that? We're doing it to him. So I don't care what your brother did or your sister did. It's really not that big a deal, is it? Because we're on our knees in front of him, beaten and bloodied and hole in the side. Forgive me for that traffic infraction. You see what I'm saying? At some point, we got to apply this. Oh, they stepped on my toe. It's not bleeding. We'll be all right. Take a little extra vitamin C. It's going to be good. Oh, they did. They forgot to call me. Probably did forget to call you. But why are we so out of the loop that you have to be called? You see what I'm saying? I mean, we make little things such a big deal. Matthew 26 and verse 26. The Passover service, right? Matthew 26, 26. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, broke it, gave it to his disciples, said, "Take and eat, this is my body." And then he took the cup, gave thanks, and offered to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is the blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until I drink it that day when I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom." So taking his body and becoming one with him, his blood poured out to forgive us, forgiven to join with Yeshua in one body, a profound mystery, Paul said, about Christ and his church. Isn't everything else really small? Isn't everything else really small? Are offenses worth our time and attention? Is grievance anything to be regarded? Are those trifling little sins really worth it? Yeshua is everything to us. He paid. He placed us in his body. He presented us to the Father. What is important is this frame of mind. Teach this to others. As long as we have breath of life, teach this to others. Teach them at church. Teach them in the magazine. Teach them in person. Teach them online. Because this is everything.